Welcome to High School Bathrooms, everyone. The best place to have a conversation. I'm Derek.
And I'm Simon.
Today, we're gonna be talking about relationships. So right now, basically in this episode, you're gonna have two single boys talking to you about what we think a relationship should be and how we see it. But however, Simon and I have actually both been in a relationship before, so we kind of know what we're talking about. Trust me.
I'm not going to say that we know what we're talking about because we don't. We're a couple of teenagers who have literally no idea what a real relationship is like. And I think I'm going to have a
Yeah, pretty
completely
much.
different opinion than Derek just because I know Derek and I think I know what he's going to say. And I don't think he's going to expect what I'm going to say.
I actually respect women, Simon.
It's not that I don't respect women, it's that I don't agree with the feminist movement. I think it's too much and I think it's really stupid.
Understandable. But anyways, we wanted to talk about specifically high school relationships, which is what we're exposed to on an almost daily basis at the high school, and while we're like in class and stuff. We Simon and I both see things at our
Uh,
school that we
Yeah,
wanted to
so I'm
address.
gonna let Derek go first, just because I think mine's gonna be way out of left field, just not expected. So we'll let Derek see address his problems that he sees first.
Well, so my observations that I see at the high school, at least the one I go to, there's a lot of people who are actually dating in high school, which makes sense because I remember I think a lot of people whose parents back when they were younger, they were like trying to get a relationship in middle school, and that did happen. People were dating in middle school, but that's not really. I don't consider that to be a real relationship because it's middle school, so whatever. But I feel like a lot of parents are lenient towards their kids when they hit high school. Like their kids are like, "Hey, Dad, Mom, when can I get like a girlfriend or a boyfriend?" And I feel like their parents are like, "Oh, when you hit high school or when you're et cetera, et cetera." At least that's how it was for a bunch of my friends. Now, personally, my parents I don't think care. I don't know. I've never really had to go through this issue because I'm always single. So um, there I feel like my parents themselves. I think my dad would be happy to know that I'm not gay or anything. Um, like I think they'd be surprised. Because I think both my parents right now believe that I am not awake. I'm not woke that stuff yet. In terms like they think I'm still innocent. I mean, which is okay, but things I have been noticing around the high school, if you are in a relationship, I mean, at my school it's not so bad. You don't see it as often. It used to be pretty bad. At least I think when I was a freshman at the high school, because I don't really see anything anymore. Maybe I'm just not noticing it, but there were a few areas around the high school where people would go and like I guess just talk with whoever they're dating and maybe like kiss or anything. The good thing is at my school you don't see anyone trying to eat each other's tonsils out in the middle of the hallway or anything like that. I mean, I feel like that happens maybe like behind bleachers and stuff, but even then, I don't know. I just don't see any of that in my school. But there's just one little hallway, like a few little hallways that people would just go, like between class periods, they would talk to whoever they're dating and like just catch up. Which I mean, personally for me, if I was in a relationship, I would do that. But the only thing is, I don't like it when people, like personally, I don't like it when people are late to class because of it, because they may have to go out of their way just to talk to whoever, and but then at my school, I'm pretty sure we have 3 minutes, I think, to go between class to class. Which seems this doesn't seem a lot at first, but I think if you're in high school and you're just trying to get to your class, then it seems like you have way more than enough time. So that's one thing I noticed. Um, Another thing is hand holding. I don't know if I see that too much around the high school. I mean, I know it does happen. I know some of my friends do it, but there's that whole PDA thing, I guess, in place. I mean, it's in the handbook, but at the high school, I feel like they're at least the one I go to. They're more lenient about it. Like, if you're holding hands, it's okay. I mean, some teachers obviously are gonna be like, "What are y'all doing?" And other ones are like not gonna care. But the real issues themselves I wanted to address are the ones that you might not really see or the ones you hear about. And that's gonna be the whole high school relationships are a joke thing, which I feel like is happening more often. Relationships aren't, how should I say, they're not as committed. I feel like these days in the past. I don't know. I can't really speak
Yeah.
for the past because I wasn't like alive, when all that was happening. I was still pretty young. But I mean, recently I feel like relationships are gonna be more of a joke. Like even, um, people aren't committed. They're just like, oh, you wanna like I guess make out and stuff. They aren't putting time into it, and it's moving too fast. That was always my biggest thing that I think about right now. Relationships, high school relationships, always move too fast, and should take it slow a little bit. Cause like first date, you're talking to them, whatever, and the next date you're like making out or something. Like I don't understand it. It's just it moves too fast for me.
Yeah,
I don't. Simon might be a
it
little bit
was
different. I don't know about him.
recently, but
Because
yeah,
Simon was just in a relationship
I
a few
have
months
a
ago. I'm pretty sure,
different
right?
opinion than you. So,
And then another big thing is that they don't take it seriously either. Like I feel like right now it's more of a hit and run type of situation, at least for teenagers, where you'll all be in a relationship, it's all handy dandy until something actually comes up, like a problem, and then people don't take time to fix the problem that they're experiencing, and they'll just probably like leave or break up. And even with the people who seem most perfect for each other, that's not the case. Relationships actually need to be worked on. They're not always going to be perfect. Like some of the most perfect relationships you can think of, like something that comes to my mind would be like some of the Hollywood relationships, right? Where you hear about them and you know about them and they look super happy. But they've had issues. All relationships have issues, and they've had to work through it. But as a result,
yeah.
they've become a better relationship and a stronger one. And they're like couple goals, basically, how you guys would call it. So that's one thing, not taking it seriously enough and not taking time to fix the issue. And the other thing is just moving too fast. And the biggest issue with both of those, when it comes down to it, is that they aren't loyal. Loyalty these days is the best policy. It's always going to be the best policy. And for me personally, I'm afraid like something that people might not think about is that I'm afraid if you're not loyal and you're like active, like then you might like your partner is obviously doing things behind your back, which I feel like would hurt some people more than others. Like if I knew that the person I trusted and the person I confided in, the person I cared about a lot, was doing things behind my back and not being honest and telling the truth, then I'd be hurt. Like, I'd be devastated. But even then, physically, like, if they're active with someone else, you don't know what the other person has. You don't know if they have STDs or anything. And that's a whole big part of abstinence and loyalty. If you're loyal to one person and you trust them and they trust you, then you don't have to worry about, like, catching anything that someone else might have because your partner was unloyal to you. So that's another big thing. Like, it's supposed to protect both of you guys. And that's why cheating, to me, is really scary. But, Simon, what have you been seeing at your school that you want to talk about?
So this is where my different opinion comes in really harsh, because there is just I don't feel like there's as much problems as you do, because there's one big thing that you've been talking about basically this whole time that I've wanted to address this whole time.
What is it?
You're taking them way too seriously. You're taking high school relationships as though they're marriages.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no way you can treat them like that because we're high schoolers. You have to think that these same people are not going to be together. They're not. It's statistically improbable that they're going to be together for longer than a period of 2 years. Let's say 2 years.
I think we mentioned in an earlier podcast, I think it was like 6% or something,
yeah,
right?
It's like 6% that go on to marriage, and that's like even after all the trials and other statistics. So we're going to say like 1.5% of people live a successful life with their high school partner. And that's very, very unlikely. So you're taking them too seriously and not letting these people who don't care, like, it doesn't matter if you want to love this person or not, because you're not going to love them for forever, because you're changing. You're still changing in high school. You're still changing throughout your adult life, and you're not going to be mature yet, so there's no way that your personalities are going to click that perfectly and be able to live together forever. So don't worry about all these things that Derek's saying. Take them with a grain of salt. If you want your relationship to be good, do these things. But don't worry if it doesn't work out. Don't worry if you're not doing these things, because every relationship is different and every person's different. So the things that Derek's saying are good tips, but they're not things that you should follow by heart, because everyone's relationship will be different. So stop worrying about, like, taking it seriously and start worrying about yourself and what you can do to have the most fun and the most things instead of trying to make this relationship work out.
So that's just another perspective. I think Simon's basically trying to say that I think people have different how do I say purposes for being in a relationship. I mean personally for me, which
That's,
is why I was saying everything
that's
I
not
say
exactly what I'm trying to say
earlier.
because it's not the reason why you're
Well,
doing it. It's that you're different from that person and you're always going to be different from somebody. So you're not going to stay
uh,
together for very long, most likely. So what you're saying is that
mhm.
it's gonna last, and you're trying to make it last. But I'm saying that you probably don't want it to last. You want more experiences, so that when you actually meet the right person, or
Yeah.
even if you don't meet the right person, you'll at least have had fun. You'll at least have experienced that, and you won't be regretting it later.
Hmm. Yeah, like I was trying to say earlier, like I think a big issue with me is that I take it maybe a little too seriously. Like personally for me, I see relationships as like not jokes.
Yeah, I know.
Like they're serious. They're serious to me, and I I date because I only date people who I can see myself having a future with, which isn't for everyone. Like I said, like Simon said, it's just you want to make the most out of it, you want to have fun, which might be an issue for me later because if I have that mindset, then I might not have as much experience as I'd like to
Yeah,
have compared to people who have been in multiple relationships. I mean, like Simon is saying, he has a very good point. It's not gonna be forever, most likely, and that's something that a lot of people believe in. Like they're naive about it because they think that their high school relationship is gonna last forever. They're like, "Oh, I love you, and I'll let you go," but that's just not how it works. It ends.
yeah.
All things come to an
There
end.
was the
Um,
thing that I was saying about that
so
was you just. I guess this goes for everything. You just got to have a realistic expectation that you're not going to last in it. But I never take it with, but don't take it with a grain of salt either. As I was saying before, kind of find a middle ground. Never have too much faith in them. Never have too much of any one thing is a good motto for life. Never have too much of any one thing. Like high school relationships, never be too involved because you're going to have your heart broken, and it's not going to be great. Just be ready for that, but also don't act like that though. Don't act like it's never going to happen.
yeah,
Act like you're having a relationship, but then don't be surprised when it ends.
yeah. I think it also, like Simon said, have fun in it too. You're. I think for the most part, people have relationships because they want to have a good time. They want to have fun. So don't like. I mean, yes, be serious. I hope, but like Simon said, but don't be too serious. But still, have fun though. Enjoy your relationship while it still lasts. Enjoy everything you're going to. But just remember that there's gonna be
So
some drawbacks to it
yeah,
too.
so I was just saying that
And
yeah,
mhm,
I was agreeing with you and just adding on that there is there's a lot
yes,
and there's a lot of complexities. So we're not going to say that this should last for that this is for every relationship and feel it out your own self feel it out for yourself. But just this is general advice, and that's I just want to throw in that disclaimer.
yeah, we're not. Mhm. We're not the final authority on relationship advice. Like right now, we're single, remember, but still, we do. I hope we do know what we're talking about to some extent, and it should help you guys out.
Yeah.
But like, it's all up to you though. It's your relationship. It's what you make out of it. Simon, did you notice any other issues you wanted to talk about? Relationships at your school personally that you've been seeing? Anything they've been doing, or anything you've been hearing about, or they've been saying?
Uh, I don't think that bothers me as much as it bothers you.
Hmm.
PDA doesn't bother me to most extent, just because I don't think that it's as big of a problem. Because I don't get offended very easily. So
Hmm.
uh,
Well, no, I'm not offended by PDA. It's just like I don't appreciate it when people are like, okay, well, okay,
it doesn't bother me though.
yeah, hmm
That's one of the things that's a big difference between me and Derek, because I don't get bothered as easily as he does. I'm not. I don't want to say uptight because you're not uptight, but you're like
no, I'm pretty chill.
you
I'm
just
just
get
like very specific things.
yeah you get uh, not offended, but just like annoyed by certain things that I would
Yeah,
get annoyed by, even though I used to be super like that, and I would used to get super offended by a lot of things and annoyed, but now I'm just not like that
hmm
as much anymore.
yeah. Simon's more chill than I am. Like I'd get a little annoyed Well, I get annoyed if, let's say they were. We brought this up in the freshman podcast. If they're holding hands and like not getting out of the hallway when I'm trying to get to my class, I get so annoyed about
Yeah.
that because I'm trying to get to class, and they're just taking their merry little time in their little merry world. Um, but I don't know. Like I usually don't care about any of that stuff. Like I'm not like, oh, stop holding hands in the hallway. Oh, stop making out. Like I don't really care. Like if I see someone do it, I'll be like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
whatever. I don't really. I mean, I don't like it, but
Yeah, it's fine.
whatever. I don't care about it. Mind your own
Yeah.
business, um, but I wanted to actually talk about some more specific things in a relationship that I've been seeing. A big thing is relationship wise. When it comes to relationships, I think that we'll talk about more in future podcasts with our what girls like and what guys like episodes. But one big thing I feel personally is that uh, girls tend to play the victim when it comes down to it. And yes, guys can be pretty dumb. I mean, so can girls too. But I feel like a lot of guys
Are
think,
really stupid.
yeah, think they think with the head that's in between their legs, not the one that's on their shoulders. How about that?
Yeah.
And that explains a lot of things why they do, and they don't respect girls and women, which is what you should always do, from in my eyes.
Mm.
Um,
That's
but
that's a topic for a later.
yeah.
That's a topic for a later podcast.
But girls, I think Simon and I can both agree that girls can also be conceited, and they tend to play the victim. And an example of that is, let's say, well, I know a lot of people who want to be in a relationship, and they're like, oh, I can't seem to find any good guys,
Mhm.
or
Any guys that don't treat me
they,
right?
yeah, guys don't treat me right, and I can't, like, I just want a guy who's loyal and caring. And then and they all say that, right? And I know a lot of them say that, they want someone who's good looking, which is understandable. Guys are like that too, to a very large extent. Like I'm pretty sure. I don't think anyone can say that they care about looks. They don't care about looks. I think that's a complete BS, because you always care about it on some extent.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, mhm. So, I'm gonna say right now, I do care about looks, but the whole thing about that is that people have different perspectives of what they think is beautiful or
Well,
what looks
yeah,
good.
and plus
So you can't really trash on anyone for saying that they care about looks, because I like a lot of people who some people say don't look very attractive, but to me they
Yeah.
are attractive.
there's a big
So
thing there, like scientifically, because you can't say don't care about looks because the human brain is wired to care about looks because looks implicate fertility rates and like just like being a good mother, or even on the fatherly side that represents being able to take care of you or being able to provide and protect.
like protect
Yeah.
your family.
So biologically, you are wired to care about looks. That's why we care about them. So it would be stupid to say I don't, and I only care about personality, because
Yeah.
that doesn't make sense.
Well, on another level though, that's true, and I completely agree with that 100%. And that's why if you see someone good looking, you're gonna have like bound to have like a second look, or like, oh dang, he or she looks pretty good.
Yeah.
Like you pick up that
Mhm.
stuff, right? Like, you know what I mean? You'll think about it in your head like, oh yeah, they're really attractive, cool. But humans aren't exactly 100% like animals too. So personality, I feel like, has more play in it
Yeah.
compared to like actual animals itself. But looks are still going to be a thing that exists, and no matter if you say that you don't care about looks or not, it's always going to be there. So I don't think
Well,
anyone can say that.
personality also has a biological factor, because there's traits that show dominance and other things like that. And I'm not saying that every woman is the same and every woman is submissive, but biologically, women are more submissive because they're not hunters. That when we were originally like apes and running around and hunting for food, they're not hunters. They're not people who were trying to fight and kill. They were mostly people who were trying to gather and protect children. So that's why most people are submissive. So traits like confidence and other things are very good in men, because they know
Yes.
that
Mhm.
confidence means you're a good hunter, you're a good fighter, you'll protect me. You're good at getting things done and doing things in life without mattering what other people say.
And then even to that, it goes with traits too, because then like girls, I feel like, are more drawn towards the taller bigger, stronger guys because they're like, oh, I know he's gonna treat me well.
Yeah.
Well, they don't know that, but they feel like he's gonna be just a better father and better partner
Yeah.
because he can protect
That's
me,
where a lot of this
etc.
stuff comes from, and that's why both of us
But-
don't have girlfriends, because we know that.
Yeah, I'm short, so I always have an issue with that. But we can cover that some other time. But like I was saying though, girls tend to play the victim. I feel like because, for example, right now, instant example, I tend to have like a habit of liking girls who are taller than me. Whether or not that's a coincidence or I just like them because they're taller, that's up
Or
to you
it's
guys.
because every other girl is taller than you.
Yeah, I'm pretty short, so that's also a thing. But um, a lot of girls think I'm a great person,
Yeah.
right? But some of them would never date me just because I'm shorter than them. And I don't think that we tend to realize things like that because I think the stigma right now is that guys tend to care more about looks than girls. Which isn't exactly true. I mean, it is true to some extent because that's all you hear about, but girls do care about looks, but they just don't say it, at least in my opinion. Like, they aren't out as direct about it as guys. So, but when girls try to play it off like that, and they don't say any of that, because I feel like guys are more direct about it, then they become a little conceited because it's like, oh, I'm all these things, but then they're like, oh no, you're short,
Yeah.
like, fat, and ugly. But they never say that when they're talking about their problems. Which I feel like is one way that they're conceited. And then another thing is, right now, I think a big thing is that guys seem to be the ones that aren't loyal. Which, in a sense, like, when it comes to all that biology stuff, it makes sense, which I'm not saying that you should be not loyal, but it makes sense because in life, when it comes to, like, having kids and everything, girls have more to lose than guys. Like, guys can, girls get pregnant for, like, what, 9 months? And then in that 9 months, they go through all this stuff, and they have to carry for the baby. But guys, it's...
What they're saying
guys don't have to do
scientifically
any of
is that biologically,
So-
women have a limited number of eggs. They have a limited number of eggs that they can use to reproduce. There is approximately, I think there was 108, if I'm remembering this correctly. I could be completely wrong. But throughout their life, up until they're about 50, they're going to have a certain number of eggs. And these eggs are the only things they can use to reproduce. Men, however, have a long-term, until they die, they're going to have as much sperm as they'll ever need. So, unless they have, like, certain diseases or other things.
Mhm.
So, men are purposed to have multiple partners at one time, whereas women have one partner because they can't provide for themselves as well when they're pregnant. So that's why that comes up in society, because we have those biological factors, but we also don't have to stick to that because we have a society. We can change our mental stigmas and other things.
Yeah. And then all that jumps into ethics and stuff, we're not going to cover because this is so complicated, but I wanted to bring up. So, like, that's why I feel like girls can be more reluctant and withdrawn when it comes to these type of things because they have more to lose. They have, compared to guys. So, another thing I wanted to bring up is that pressure by guys themselves in relationships. And with that whole thing where girls are more withdrawn, and well, not everyone obviously, but just biologically, I feel, I don't know if this is true or not, that they're just less likely to do. They're less likely to rush into things than guys. I feel like guys sometimes want, mostly guys. I don't know. They tend to push their relationship more.
Well, that's a tactic
Like they want more
repopulate
from the
because
girl.
that's
than
what's on
want
a
from
guy's mind. They want to repopulate just
Mhm.
through the mental sense. So if you try and rush a woman and you overwhelm them, then they're going to
it's
try and do
hardwired
that
into
stuff,
us.
and that's just a mental thing that we have to get over. We have to not do.
Yeah, and it shows up. It's just our primal instincts, and it shows up in everyday life. Even though we're considered civilized, we still have all those primal instincts, and all the hormones, everything flowing into us. But I don't think it's all the guy's fault though. That's what I'm just saying. People always pin it on the guy. They're like, oh, he broke up with me, he left me, and sure, guys can be jerks, guys can be idiots. I'm not saying guys are like that all the time. I honestly feel, but it's you can't put all the blame on guys themselves. It's also the girl, and so it's never just one-sided. And I feel like in a relationship, real relationships aren't 50-50 in my opinion. They're 100-100 because if someone starts in a 50-50 relationship, if someone starts putting less effort into it, then you don't have 100% anymore. You have like a part of a relationship. So if both people involved are involved 100%, then if someone starts putting less effort to it, it's still a full relationship.
Yeah.
It's because there's more to fall back on.
Yep.
Which is just my mindset. So that's another thing that it comes up. People, I mean, like we said earlier, it's just what you want in a relationship. But I feel like a relationship, people don't put enough effort into it. So when things start going wrong, like I said at the
So
beginning,
just
they just
basically,
abandon
and
it.
to summarize everything that we've said so far, you should get rid of all these myths that you've heard that all these things are happening. Go into expecting nothing, just expecting to have a good time. Try and have a good time as much as you can. Go through all your own motions, and then at the end, when
I
it's
also,
over, at least you'll have had a fun time.
now we've been spending a lot of time on issues with relationships, and I think those could be considered the biggest ones, about how, like all that stuff, and then girls sometimes aren't the ones who are loyal. They can be unloyal and all that stuff. But I think it should be a good thing to move away from that negativity and what we think a good relationship should be like. Instead of looking at the issues, we should look at what should succeed. And something I wanted to bring up that I already did a little bit is that cooperation. I don't know if it's just me, but I mean, I don't think it's right that the guy should always do everything when it comes down to relationships. Like, personally for me, I want someone who I know I can trust and depend on to do things. And yes, would I spoil them and stuff? Yes, but I also, before I spoil them, I want to know that they're capable of taking care of themselves. And that's where the whole cleanliness factor comes in, and it's actually not, I'm pretty sure there's been studies on it, I'm not too sure. But I've heard, it makes sense because what I've been seeing myself, it's bad if you're in a clingy relationship. And the whole thing about that is because when you're clingy, then both partners get get dependent on the other one, and then when it goes down, the relationship starts deteriorating, then it's more tragic. How I should phrase it? Like you need alone time.
Yeah.
You can't spend all your time with one another. You need to be by yourself, and it refreshes yourself. And so then, and things also don't get old. If you're always together like 24/7, then things are bound to get old. So you need to spend time by yourself.
Yeah.
And once you get dependent on a relationship, if it starts going toxic, then it hurts even more than someone who aren't as close. Because then you're depending on your person, and if they can't be depended on, then it doesn't work out. But that's just all the whole cleanliness factor I want to bring up real quick. But I believe a relationship should be cooperative. It shouldn't be one-sided. And that's how relationships succeed if you're trying to have a successful relationship. Another whole factor would be, in my opinion, respect. You need to respect your partner. Alright? And yes, people have varying degrees of what respect means, but you should still treat them as a person. And I'm addressing this to a lot of guys out there. You guys tend to view women as objects. You objectify them. They're not people to you. They're objects, and that's not right, in my opinion. You should treat them as who they are, women as people, and treat them thus accordingly.
But then that's also objectifying men, saying though that they treat women like that. Because
Well, yeah.
I think that's too not modernized enough. I don't think that as many men are doing that anymore, because you're saying it like, oh, every man treats his woman like, oh, they're an object, but that's not true. That's not true anymore. So I don't think that's as valid as a point anymore.
Well, that's why I said the other thing earlier. I said it's not always the guy who's at fault too. It's a girl. Like I know girls who just ditch their guy and then just because they find someone else. But then, like we said, that's all about human nature too. It makes sense if you find someone who is uh they have more money, they're more successful, they're stronger. You're bound. I feel you're bound to be more open-minded and attracted to
Yeah.
them compared to who you're with if they're not sufficient. Like you're gonna like a stronger guy more than a weaker guy, even if you really like who you're dating or whoever you're in a relationship right now. But it causes you to have those thoughts in the first place. It's like, oh, he's stronger, he's bigger, he's more successful. I think that he'd be a better mate. So that's why I'm getting all these second thoughts, these unloyal thoughts, um, that I want to be with them. But the cooperation, respect, another big thing. Flexibility. I feel like relationships shouldn't be a straight line. They should be flexible. They should work around who both of you guys are. And when you start making
Yeah.
demands and pointing fingers, it just doesn't work out. It's not healthy. And what I mean by that is, at least for relationships right now in high school, I think you should have other how do I say other priorities. Like personally for me, I want to focus on my school, on my education, on my future, on getting a job, on making money. But for other people, that might be different. But you should respect your partner's priorities, and address your own at the same time, and be flexible around them. Like, let's say, you can't just demand that you want to spend time with someone because they can be busy, but on the busy doing their own thing, which is what happens to me a lot. But on the other hand, you should still be flexible and still be like, okay, I know I'm busy, but I can make time for you. You just have to wait, and that's one big thing. Too, just flexibility. Don't be like unwilling to cooperate and make things work. But at the same time, just respect boundaries. Know that they have a life too, and you are not their life, and that's how it should be. That's a naive thing that people tend to think. And another big thing that I see is good for relationships is communication. Big thing. Not just when it comes to like stuff like how willing you're going to go physically, but in the relationship itself. If you can't communicate with your partner, that things aren't going to work out, because then your partner themselves, they're not going to know what you
Yeah.
want. They're not going to know what your boundaries and what your limits are.
Okay.
And I don't know if it's just me, but personally, I'm clueless when it comes to that stuff. Like, you have to be direct with me. I can't read minds. So you're gonna want good communication skills. You're gonna want to be assertive. You're gonna want to tell them what you want and how you want it, and that way there's no confusion or anything about that.
Yeah. I just wanted to throw in one last idea. This is my like big thing that I say is keep it. Just don't care. I don't care what anyone says. I don't care what Derek says. I don't care what I say. I don't care what
Mhm.
anybody says. What this whole podcast means nothing in comparison in your relationship. As long as you know what you want and they know what they want, and you come to an agreement and have a relationship. That's what it is. That's all it is, and you don't need to worry about what anything said in this entire podcast except for this. Your relationship is going to be different from what I say, and don't worry that it's different, because it's not.
Mhm.
It's not the same thing. And we're making stereotypes this whole time. Oh, you should communicate. Oh, you're doing this, or you're doing that, or you're doing this. But don't worry about that. Just have fun. Do what you're doing, and if it's not working out, if it's toxic, then get out of it and have another one.
I think Simon sums it up pretty well. I'm gonna agree with him 100% there. Relationships are what you make of it,
Yeah.
as with anything else. And everyone is different. Everyone has different perspectives and views. But as long as you're having a good time and you guys are both consenting, just do whatever you want, and that's the basis of it. Honestly, that's really what it boils down to. That's what a relationship is. It should be a good time for both people. And if it isn't, like Simon said, you can always get out of it. And if you need help getting out of, like, let's say, a toxic relationship, or you're physically dependent or clinging on them, then you have your friends and family, and there's also people specifically who help you with that, like counselors and all that stuff. So,
Yeah, those are the biggest people to go to, and that's just like anything. If you need help, counselors, parents, and friends are always there to help you. So just figure it out. All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning into High School Bathrooms. If this is your first time listening, we hope you enjoyed. We try to make new content every weekend, so tune in next week for more. Also, check out our Instagram at HSB Podcast, all one word.
As always, thanks for listening. Make sure to share us with your friends. Wash your hands with soap and water and have a great day.